I'll be waiting for you in Wano. You better show up!
Over 1,000 chapters and nearly the same amount of episodes. The series written by Eiichiro Oda that has been a staple of the Shonen Jump magazine since 1997. One Piece. Well folks, 359 pages and almost 200,000 words later, the One Piece saga has finally come to a close. For now. But yes, the last video of Wano has probably went out by the time you're watching this. I've just completed the edit for it, so I just wanted to sit down and talk about the entire experience as a whole, be it watching the series, making the YouTube series, and everything else I had to deal with, including the copyright strikes and almost getting sued. So yes, this should be a fun one if you're interested in any of that. And I guess naturally, the best place to begin is where it all began. Why did I even start watching the series in the first place, let alone making content for it? And there, actually what I said in the very first video is 100% true. I knew nothing about One Piece when I started watching it, so it wasn't some sort of core appeal of it that sort of hooked me or anything like that. To me, originally the idea literally just came from, this is a long series, it's 1,000+ episodes, I think it would be funny to watch the whole thing. That is literally the only plan I ever had, which is also why I deliberately included the filler stuff, because I thought it would be funny. Just watching the entire thing, right? It was basically a, I will do the wackiest thing possible type of deal. But again, I love pirate stuff. I absolutely adore pirate video games. Assassin's Creed 4, best video game of all time. It's not, but it's very close to it. And then Black Sails is one of my favorite shows of all time. And imagine me, like, just starting to watch One Piece, and the intro is literally this whole, I left my treasure in one place, now you just have to find it. And then we find out about the magic system, and it's basically a battle royale of fantasy pirates looking for this mythical treasure chest. To me, it felt like the show was literally created for me, like the premise of it. And clearly, I got hooked immediately, which is also why the series that happened, and why basically everything has happened since. Many people still think that I lie about the fact that I knew nothing about One Piece before I started watching it, but genuinely, it might seem wacky to people that you're in the anime sphere and you don't even know it's about pirates, but I didn't. Same as I don't know basically anything about Dragon Ball or Naruto even now. All I know are just like some of the memes, but I don't know the premise of the shows either. And that was very much the case with One Piece. Luckily though, the premise for it was incredible and I was hooked from day one. And I guess starting from day one, there is also the early day woes. There's a lot I don't like about the early videos. I was just getting started on YouTube, and this will probably be the same when I rewatch this video, for example, in a couple of years. The first videos of the series, oh boy, I would love to remake them from absolutely scratch. There's a lot that I don't like about them. I talked a little bit more about that when I rewatched my first video on stream. There's a lot I don't like about them. And one of them is all of my stupid theories in the very early days. Of course, I fell for the good old, the One Piece is the friends we made along the way, and everything along those lines, where I thought that the all blue might be the One Piece, and I genuinely thought that the Grand Line was something we would never reach, and that, you know, this whole premise of reaching the Grand Line would sort of be reaching the One Piece itself. And, you know, clearly, I was very wrong. Which is also the reason why I am still surprised that some people think I've seen the series or read spoilers or anything along those lines, because frankly half of the stuff I've said makes no sense, and I find that so amusing. That's probably my favorite thing about just going back and listening to my own wacky takes. It's crazy to me how many of them I absolutely disagree with, even ones that I've made relatively recently. I think that's one thing with One Piece that I like a lot. Your opinion constantly changes about things in the world, and that's great. Which also, I guess, leads me right into the early days of the channel as a whole, and sort of putting out these videos just into the ether. Keep in mind that at that point, I think the channel, when I started the One Piece series, I think I was at a couple thousand subscribers, something like that, right? So I was very small. That is not to say I'm big now, but point is, I was much smaller back then. And somehow, the One Piece videos absolutely took off, like comparatively to everything else, right? People seem to just love the idea of me getting into it, which is probably linked to what I said before about the whole 1,000 plus episode challenge. I've already felt that myself. I want to get my friends into the series, but frankly telling someone that there are 1,000 episodes of anything is like the number one way of telling them, do not watch this, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate, because it's definitely worth it. I'll spoil the end of this video for you. Yes, I do think this whole thing was definitely worth it. But yes, the early day growth I saw on the channel with One Piece, it was incredible. And the community seemed to be so welcoming. It was honestly, in terms of getting into a series for the first time, of course, there's also the aspect of me putting out all of my wacky takes and everything like that, but it felt like everybody in the community was just welcoming me with open arms, no matter how wacky my takes were, and basically no matter what I said. I think a lot of that is just like seeing someone else experience those early days that are, again, now literally decades in the past. And I think that was the appeal there. But from my point of view, I think my sort of first involvement into the series, because of the premise and everything like that, it felt like it was just rewarded immediately. And of course, it just became a positive feedback loop where I sort of also opened up in the videos. I think you can tell that a lot. The first videos, I'm sort of just narrating whatever I wrote, and then as the videos go on, I start putting in even more of my wacky nonsense. I sort of start putting my personality out there a lot more, and generally, I think the videos just get a lot better with time, which is also, I think, reflected in sort of the community engagement that I saw on there. Basically, the community was great in the early days. However, as with all communities, there is also the dark side of the coin. And as with many things where you put out your opinion, there are two more sort of branching things here which were unpleasant. And the first thing is that I think some people in the One Piece community, I think myself included at this point, seem to forget just how long they followed the series and just how ridiculously big the series is, right? For context, I looked this up because I thought this was funny. If you started reading the One Piece manga in Wano, you've been up to date for 5 years now. That's a long time for one arc, okay? And I distinctly remember that when I was covering Gatekeepey, and I was confused why Eneru needed a ship, right? And I remember like the comments just started getting flooded with, well, he's going to the moon. Well, how would he get to the moon without it? And I was like, what? What do you mean he's going to the moon? And apparently that's a thing that everybody knows. I didn't know that. That was never said in the anime. I mean, yeah, there were a bunch of mentions of like Verth and whatnot, but I was like, what is everybody talking about? Is this some sort of inside joke? He's going to the moon? What do you mean? But no, that's legit. And I think it's small cases like that where people, like, it's not headcanon anymore. It's actually like accepted as facts and everybody knows it. And it's never really explicitly mentioned or something like that, especially when you're watching for the first time. Because again, this is also, I think, something people tend to forget. My videos were never analysis. I literally wrote my videos the day I finished the arc, and I never watched the next arc before I had finished the video. And that was true for literally the very, up until the very end. Not once had I seen an episode of the next arc, except for the first ones, obviously, where I put them together. But yes, none of my videos were analysis, so I did miss a lot of things along the way, and that is something I got not backlash for, but people definitely seemed a little triggered about me missing things sometimes, even though I thought I made it clear that I will miss things. But you know, that's just YouTube. And I guess in the same vein, there's also the headcanon stuff, right? Where a lot of people have accepted things as facts, and then sort of just keep peddling them. And then there's the other side of the community that's like, no, that's just headcanon. And then an entire war breaks out in my comment section because somebody has corrected me on something that is not totally right, but is also sort of right, and then is just like miserable. And again, with a series as big as One Piece, I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away. When I was watching the show, obviously I got a lot of these ideas myself, as to how things might go, as to what might be important, as to what the Will of D is, and all these countless mysteries that are going on, right? And to some extent, of course, I have my own headcanon as to what we're doing and what will the endgame be. But with me, I always try to sort of distinguish what is fact and what is my headcanon, right? And I think that is a big, big trap for something as big as One Piece and something that is continuously evolving. I feel like a lot of people, even in the present day, have a lot of headcanons they've built, and whenever those turn out to be wrong, they think that something wrong has happened, even though it's not wrong, right? It was literally just their headcanon. And that's something that has been fascinating to unfold with, again, something as big as One Piece. And that is also something I've seen plenty of times in my older videos, even talking about things like the Ace tattoo, right? That's a big one. People are debating what's up with the S that's crossed out. Is that for Sabo? But no, he got the tattoo. Before all that, that's another thing that people have been debating in circles for a very, very long time. I think that is a very interesting case study of people building headcanons. But yes, at least those are mostly fun. What's not fun are power scalers, but you know, that's a debate for another day. I do think some power scaling debates can be fun, but again, now that I've gotten caught up and people actually debate them, sort of ignoring the context of the story, that's another thing that's sort of amusing. But I guess that's the case for most shonen series, and that's not really specific to One Piece. Whatever the case, I've been rambling on in circles. Let's get back on track. Another thing with the community is that while part of it was, as I said, 1,000,000% open to any theory I could ever have, all of my opinions, no matter how wrong they were just happy to hear my thoughts on it, right? As with most people, I think it was the case. But then there was the loud minority. The loud minority that took some opinions very, very personally, with the obvious ones being probably like Sanji. Sanji's my hottest take, right? I still think like 50% of Sanji's character is like complete F tier trash. It shouldn't be in the show, right? And people who have been following this series for what I assume to be a very long time take that very personally. And that is why I started calling them Sanji stans, right? I like myself a little bit of controversy, even every now and then. I like a bit of a spicy take, you know. So of course, playing up the joke, I purposely stoked the fire a little bit, but it did result in a lot of people getting very mad at me about Sanji takes. I will look for some comments and maybe put up some here. There were lots of very, very amusing ones. Some that are completely broken English, which just makes the whole thing so much funnier. And frankly, I don't know how much of it was just satire and how many of them were serious. And speaking of satire, my hate for Buggy was also a controversial one. And that is one I did play up even more. I'll break the fourth wall here. Now that I've gotten caught up, now that I've seen the whole story, now that I've seen everything to do with Buggy in the manga as well, honestly, yes, I think Buggy is a relatively fun character. He's definitely not among my favorites, I will say that. Yes, I did play up the whole joke of me not liking Buggy in the series. Of course I did. I thought it would be funny, and I think it was funny. This is, like, if you're watching stuff on the main channel, just know that, yes, I do play up things occasionally because I think it's funny. And seeing people react to a fantasy shenanigan take, I think that is very amusing, and I will keep doing that. But yes, if you're here, I don't think Buggy is that bad. I will say that right now. But that's sort of my opening into the series, I guess, right? What's not great, even though some of the community wasn't particularly great as well, as I just said, what is very much not great is the situation that unfolded with G8. We enter the dark ages of the One Piece saga. I'm not going to put up any screenshots of anything that happened because frankly, it gives me some flashbacks that I don't want to think about that much. But let me paint the picture for you. Imagine me, I upload the G8 video, it's incredible. I usually upload on the evenings, by the way. So I upload the video and then I go to bed. Everything is great. I wake up the next morning, I look at my phone, and I have about, I think it was like 10 emails from YouTube. If you've done YouTube, an email from YouTube is very, very bad. It is like receiving an email from your boss. Not an email is probably no big deal, but like a call from your boss. If your boss calls you, it's bad. And this was horrible. Every single one of the One Piece videos was taken down by Toei personally. Each and every one. Not one was left. So, I look at my YouTube and I see 2 strikes. 2 strikes. Across, I believe it was 8 videos, which is already odd, right? They didn't strike each video, they just gave me 2 strikes across what I believe to be like 8 videos at the time. If you don't know, 3 strikes means your channel is deleted. And at that point in time, I want to say I was at around 10,000 subscribers maybe, probably less than that actually. But point is, if the channel were to be wiped off the map, I would not be getting it back. I would not be getting in touch with YouTube, never. And the funny thing is, the same exact situation happened a few months later to Totally Not Mark, which was obviously a much more public situation than with me. But my situation was exactly the same. Toei went out and struck down every single one of my videos, which obviously all fell under fair use. And yes, of course, there will be someone in the comments saying, yes, Japan doesn't have fair use laws. Frankly, that does not matter. There's a much, much longer debate to be had there, which jurisdiction we fall into. We're operating in YouTube. YouTube is a platform, okay? That doesn't matter. There's a lot of legal stuff to talk about there, which I don't want to get into. It's frankly not relevant. But point is, the series was this close to ending then and there, and I fought the thing for what I think were like 2 or 3 weeks. Luckily, everything came up well, and as much as a few people over at YouTube were very, very helpful, and frankly, if any of you ever have copyright troubles, honestly, I think the best advice I can give you is keep just hammering them with the same question. I repeated the same exact, I had like 3 or 4 paragraphs prepped explaining the entire situation, and I think I went through 5 people with the same exact text until somebody finally paid attention. So if any of you ever have some sort of copyright troubles on YouTube, just keep going, okay? Don't give up, because frankly, at around the 3rd person, I was more than ready to just say, fine, I'll take the whole thing down. I'll wait out the strikes, because the strikes expire after I think a couple of months or something like that. And then I was ready, yeah. I thought about taking all the One Piece videos down, letting these strikes expire, and that'd be it. That'd be the end of the One Piece saga. It would be cut short even before we got to Water 7. It is what it is, right? But luckily, I pushed through, and I finally reached someone who heard me out and passed on the messages to the copyright thing. In the midst of this, there were also many amusing things of them saying, we will check it out, and then 30 seconds later, keep in mind, the One Piece videos were all like 30 minutes long, right? And they come back to me a few minutes later saying, we checked it. Yes, it's not fair use. It's taken down. And I'm like, okay. So what you're telling me is you checked a 30-minute video in the space of 3 minutes, and then they usually checked like multiple at the same time, right? So they would actually check like 5 30-minute videos in the space of 10 minutes. And then you're like, oh, sure you did. How about you check them again? But alright, back to One Piece. Enough rambling. This is where the One Piece series was saved, and this is also when we dove right into Water 7, where one of my biggest blunders probably comes from. Remember how I said that whenever I started making more content and people were sort of very welcoming and everything like that, I started infusing my own personality into the videos a little bit. The problem was, I had no idea what I was doing. I'll just say it as is. My scripts were very, very poorly done. I very rarely had the time to actually double check them, right? Because, another inside baseball thing for you, I was studying the entire way through, and when the videos, when the whole copyright strike stuff happened, I had a bunch of personal health stuff going on, which was quite bad, I'll be honest with you. And then I had a lot of study stuff going on, and then on top of all of that, I received this list of copyright strikes that threatened to delete everything I'd been working for like the past 2 years. It was not a good time. But point is, I was very, very busy, and my scripts were poorly done, the videos were poorly made, and what that resulted in is this ever-increasing joke of the chef's kiss, right? It started off as this thing that I used very, very sparingly, but the thing is, as much as it was a joke, I think it does actually reflect my feelings very accurately toward One Piece. Despite my love of the series early on, with Water 7, which is the peak of my chef's kiss stuff that a lot of people got very, very sick of, that does actually speak volumes as to how much I love the series, because initially I did really keep the little chef's kiss joke to be for the very, very peak moments, but in Water 7, I loved Water 7 so much that, yes, I did overuse it, but I did overuse it for a very, very good reason. That's honestly how I felt. But yet that is a big blunder that, again, I don't like the early videos. If I could redo them, I would remove about 50 of the chef's kisses. There were too many of them. That is something I regret. And even now, I wanted to bring it back like very cheekily in Wano because of course, this is me. I like myself some cyclical storytelling. You might have noticed, I reused the music from the first side of the series in Wano as well. The intro music that I used for every single video. Very, very cyclical, very cyclical. That's the movie maker in me sort of shining. And I also brought back the chef's kiss later in Wano as a throwback joke. That is big blunder of mine, number one. Unfortunately, not the biggest one. There is a much bigger blunder, which we will get to in a second. But yes, from there on out, we just kept on going. The videos kept chugging along. During this time, I started making even more big projects on the channel. Everything was going great, basically. I was having an absolute blast covering One Piece. The rest of the content I made on the channel was more so analytical. So there was this also personal angle for me with the One Piece series. The One Piece series was sort of the fun week off, if you will, right? Obviously, again, what you saw was the end product, where I was cheery, everything was great. In reality, I spent many hours here, sitting in the dark, and just editing the videos, writing the scripts. So, you know, you always have to remember that. But even taking that into account, the One Piece scripts, for me, really were just literally spewing all of my thoughts without too much analysis. I threw in jokes, obviously, threw in jokey theories and things like that, and analysis, right? But to me, compared to everything else on the channel, it really was the fun week off, where I could just talk about fantasy pirates, and that's about it. And that is where a wacky situation began to develop. Again, some inside baseball here. I just mentioned I started creating even more of these big projects on the channel. In fact, the matter is, when you start making big projects and then you realize I need to upload weekly, and then you have multiple things going on at the same time, and some of them are performing better than others, so you sort of want to prioritize things for growth and things like that. Problem was, the channel got very bloated, and it's around post-Timeskip, I believe, is where this is very evident, where the One Piece series just kept getting stretched thinner and thinner, basically, I guess is the way to say it. The videos started coming out, originally if it was like weekly or at least bi-weekly, then by then it was effectively monthly. And this is my biggest regret I have with the One Piece series, and I hopefully, if I do start another main channel series along the lines of this, which spoilers, I am doing already, patrons already know about it, probably. I don't know when I'm uploading this, I don't know. But whatever the case, yes, there is another big main channel series happening. This is my biggest takeaway from the One Piece series. I guess I have to give a wholehearted apology to everybody who stuck along with me, because frankly, I fumbled the release of the One Piece series a lot. The fact that I was caught up in July of last year during the Void Month, and it is April now, and the final Wano video is only going out right now, that is a big blunder on my part. And unfortunately, I mean, that's nothing I can change anymore. Of course, now that the series is all up there, it doesn't really matter. But for me, it is a big regret that I couldn't share the whole blind viewing angle with people for the rest of the series as well. Most of Post Timeskip was me already having seen the series, having pre-recorded everything, and everything like that. In case you didn't know, most of the Post Timeskip stuff was recorded back in June, right? Again, I finished the arc, I wrote the script, and then I recorded it immediately. And I did all of that because during the summertime, I had a lot of free time, whereas this year I was writing a thesis for most of the year. So it was just a case of me having more time to actually focus on the series, and that is why some of the scripts are also a bit wackier than others, because I deliberately didn't want to go back and redo them, right? Obviously, I rephrased things here and there just to make it flow a little better, but most of the time, all of those were recorded like way back. So the quality check there was also a little bit less than some of the later videos. But again, it is what it is, right? It's the behind the scenes stuff. That is my biggest learning. If you want to release something, release it relatively at a good pace. But okay, so the One Piece series is still going on. I've gotten caught up. It's July of 2022, and I've switched over to the manga, the Void Month is over, and now I'm faced with the biggest villain, the biggest shortcoming, and my biggest problem with the One Piece series, and One Piece, and Oda, and everything to do with the internet, and the community, and everything. The spoiler culture. I've said this on stream before, and I'll say it again, the One Piece spoiler culture is stupid. You do not need a literal bullet point list of spoilers for a series that releases weekly. It makes no sense. You could literally read it in a few days, as it's meant to be read, okay? Obviously, the whole fan translation scan thingy, that's a far more difficult problem to solve, but like, the fact that we get spoilers 2 days after the next chapter, not the next chapter, the previous chapter actually releases, makes no sense. As many of you know, I read the officials, I read them on Sundays, and that is what I implore every single one of you to do. If you take away anything from me, read the officials, support the official release. You can read it with everyone, we can all react to it at the same time, it would be so much more fun. Please do it, I think it would be just so much more fun. You know, I talk a lot about sort of fumbled releases of things, which again, as I just talked about, I do very much consider myself guilty in that regard as well. From a community angle, I think spoilers and the whole spoiler culture surrounding One Piece has sort of dampened a lot of hype that would be there if it wasn't done as it is right now. I know this is a very hard problem to solve because One Piece is still being printed and everything like that, but you know, at least on the Western side, if you take away anything from me, please read the officials. I think it would just be so much more fun. And of course, here there's the debate to be had around content creators, and people like to villainize certain content creators for putting spoilers in their thumbnails and taking advantage of the spoilers and everything like that. And I'll be blunt with you, I will not villainize any content creator for them taking advantage of the spoilers. I think there are plenty of ways. This is another thing that I didn't even talk about, actually. A lot of people say that it is impossible not to get spoiled on One Piece. That is a lie. Obviously, if you go on Reddit and things like that, you will get spoiled. Even I was literally making videos on the series, and I managed to be unspoiled for a vast majority of it, right? You can avoid people if you really want to. There are extensions for that, there are many means of doing that, but that's beside the point. The problem here is that you shouldn't really villainize a content creator for taking advantage of the sort of state of things, right? This is a One Piece problem, this isn't a YouTube problem. So yeah, I guess to summarize the whole YouTuber side of things, I guess don't blame the player, blame the game, is what I would say. I know a lot of people single out very specific creators and what they do, but again, personally at least, I want to restate this again, I don't take advantage of it, right? So don't be your typical, oh, this is because you do it as well. It's not. I don't know, I think this is a One Piece problem that only makes sense that other creators take advantage of it. And to like give you a very quick example, even from my personal very small experience, the thing with these sorts of weekly things, I saw this very well with The Last of Us, right? I did a series covering that, no spoilers obviously, but the thing with a weekly series is that if you want people to click on it, you need to have the most recognizable thing from the chapter or the episode or whatever, right? And in a vast majority of cases, that will be spoilery, right? So if this is your livelihood and you want people to click on something that is highly saturated, as is the case with anything that comes out weekly, you by default need to take advantage of some sort of a creative edge, I guess would be the word there. These are not people wanting to spoil you. These are people just wanting you to click on the video. It's as simple as that. And yes, people hate it, but fact of the matter is people click on it, and that's the only thing that matters. Again, I hate it, but it is true, and let's not deny the truth here, right? Again, if you take away anything from this, if we all start reading the officials, maybe we can make this thing a little bit better. You know, maybe that's my naive thinking, and yes, I know I've made some hot takes here again. Point is, no creator is responsible for this, it is the release schedule, and that is where I'll leave that, basically. TLDR, spoiler culture dumb, community good, part of the community quite bad. You know, as with everything on the internet. I mean, we're not learning anything new here, right? But alright, we've been here for like half an hour probably. I don't know, I've re-recorded sections because I keep going off on tangents. But point is, was this whole thing worth it? Like everything YouTube aside, copyright problems aside, reading the whole thing aside, everything aside, was the journey worth it? I mean, let's be real here. I wrote 200,000 words about it. That's like 10 times the length of my thesis. Of course it was worth it. The whole YouTube side, yes, it did throw a damper on things at times. You know, because again, you might have heard my voice once. I've watched every single one of my videos about 10 times just while editing it. You know, it makes things a lot less fun. But the journey as a whole is definitely one I recommend to basically anyone. Yes, it is 1,000+ episodes long, but of course One Piece is worth watching. There's a reason why it's still on. There are many things in it that I do have problems with, but that's just how things go. You know, I don't want to get into the whole negative side of things. I think I've talked about plenty of that in the videos themselves, but when taking the big picture, of course it's worth it. It's been an incredible ride, and I mean, I've been making weekly One Piece videos or chapter reading streams for what, 6 months now? More than that, actually. It's nearing a year. Of course it was worth it. And I guess if I had to boil this whole thing down, I would just say thank you for everybody who actually watched the entire way through, starting from the very bad early days where the videos were poorly done, the voiceovers were terrible, and everything involving that, to me going over and above with chef's kisses, to all of those fading away, and then around like post time skip, I think the videos started finding their groove like properly, and then I got a lot better at editing, I think, and the videos have just been better and better from there. There's still plenty of things I would like to improve, but you know, comparatively, I think it's been a ton of fun from both the YouTube side as well as the One Piece side. But yes, I've been rambling on for very long. I don't know if these sorts of sit-downy videos talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff and everything like that are ones you want to see, but I thought with the One Piece series, with how ridiculously long it was, I thought it would be fun to take a brief stroll down memory lane, because frankly I compiled the documents, I saw 360 pages, or 359, and I thought it was ridiculous, so I wanted to talk about it. Whatever the case, thank you again for joining me for this video. Thank you for joining me for the entirety of the One Piece saga. And fret not, I did joke around that the One Piece saga has come to a close. But of course, One Piece has not come to a close. I already have some big projects on the main channel to do with One Piece. I tweeted out this, which was a very cryptic tweet. That is cryptic for a reason. Think about that. Think about that. It's time for you to make your tinfoil theories, boys. But yes, thank you again, and with that said, no more rambling. I shall see you back for whatever I see you back, and with that said, bye-bye.